Shut up, compressor. Hey everyone, I'm Matt with Doogs Models, and this is the Flankoff. I like that one. That'll work. Okay, so initial work is underway on the Kitty Hawk ejection seat, which is okay. Details good-ish, fit, The main parts of the seat work well, but these little doohickeys on the side here are very, very dicey. These little side pieces with the various levers and whatnot on them have ejector pin raised marks on the inside face, which is fun to deal with when gluing. And then the headrest here came with a chip in the top, just the way it came. So that's that. I think a resin seat would definitely be preferable here, but this is okay. Now it's time to start looking at adding in our PE harness. So this comes in four pieces, but these are the two main ones that go, the shoulders and whatnot. Now, Kitty Hawk's instructions just say bend, and there's like a illustration of some belts kind of doing something, but there's no real rhyme or reason or showing of how you take these and bend them up to get to this. So this is a thing where specificity is appreciated, and showing what this actually means would make everybody's life a whole lot easier. So in order to make these easier to bend, we're going to bust out the torch. This thing is a lot of fun. Annealing brass, as most people probably know, makes it a lot easier to bend. And if I'm lucky, I can catch one of these fucking crane flies buzzing around tonight. Whoa. We're going to leave that sucker. Move on to the next belt. Voila. But I still have no idea how to bend them. I still have no idea which way to bend them to make them fit, so it's going to be a bit of a guessing game. So as I mentioned on the Kitty Hawk seat, these little round things here are a pain in the ass because they only connect with these little tiny nubs to this little shoulder piece below the headrest. And then they kind of dangle randomly. So how does Great Wall Hobby approach those little things? Well, first we've got sort of the seat back piece here. Then we've got these two things actually joined together. And they literally just drop in place. Check that out. So one of these kits makes these little round things an exercise in tedium. There's a little tiny nub that glues into the seat, and from there the strength of that bond, or the strength of that joint, is not that strong. And when I was working with all the PE in here, I bent these things at least a dozen times. Then you have Great Wall Hobby with this single piece thing, and boom, they're taken care of. It's not even an issue. I know which one I prefer. Okay, so now that we've got the two cockpits and their ejection seats through the first stages of construction, let's stop and take stock. So first up, we have in the light gray, the Kitty Hawk cockpit. On this one, the sidewall, side console, etc. detail is pretty good. I wouldn't necessarily call it great, but it's solid for sure. There's also, as you can see back here, some nice detail on the rear bulkhead. Now, once you get into the cockpit itself, it's pretty Spartan. And the rudders, I think, aren't exactly the greatest representation, but honestly, who cares? Because you're going to have a big old panel sitting right here, and your odds of seeing back in there are going to be rather slim between the instrument panel and the control stick and all that stuff. The seat itself is a bit more problematic. So, first, if you look at the headrest here, this thing is way too tall for a K-36. They have more of a squat, sort of round shape. Let's see if I can... The other fun thing is they have you install the ejection rail to the bulkhead instead of to the seat itself, which, yeah. So while we're here, let's go ahead and look at the rest of the cockpit. Now, a frustrating thing about the Kitty Hawk kit versus the Great Wall kit is that the entire thing builds up with these tongue and groove joins all around. Now, fortunately, they all line up and sync up and fit together, but you're still, dealing with building a box with each side being flat, which is tiresome. But, worse things have happened. You also have separate side consoles here, which for the most part is a nice to have thing, but if you look, we've also got gaps going on where they meet up, and I have no idea how to get into that fine of a space and apply filler without blowing out some of those decals, or not decals, details. So I think I'm just going to leave that as is. There's also a question about whether or not this rear bulkhead detail is real or if it's just fictional details added for shits and giggles. Part of that is because it seems to be really difficult to find photos of the Su-35's cockpit looking back at this angle. There are plenty where you can see the instrument panel and sort of the side consoles, things like that. But this backward-looking view seems to be almost a bit of a unicorn. So overall, not bad, could be better. You can see some of this detail in here on the side consoles is nice to have for sure. So that is that. Okay, now let's take a look at the K-36 ejection seat. Now this already has a significant problem in the headrest. The headrest is way too tall for a K-36. It should be maybe more in there. It's probably about 50% too tall. There's also, as you can see, an ejector pin on the inside that is pushing out and has left a mark. There's also a divot in the top of the headrest that was there on the sprues. This wasn't a matter of me fucking up cutting it from the sprue trees. This was just that way. So, not happy with the headrest. These little canister things, I honestly have no idea what they're for, but they're a thing. And the joins between these and the seat are very small and very delicate. And trouble with that is as you're wrestling with the rest of the seat, those had a tendency to want to kind of squirrel away and go in weird directions. Another frustrating element of this is the Photo-Etch Belts. The only other notable thing I would add here is that these little side panels that apply to the outside of the ejection seat provide some nice detail, but they have raised ejector pin marks on the inside right between the two mounting posts, which is not a great place to get to. So overall, a competent seat, but I would not call it a great seat. The Photo-Etch belts definitely do add a nice degree of busyness to it, though, but it's missing sort of there's like a pad that sits on the backrest, and that is not evident here. Moving on to the Great Wall Hobby Cockpit. This one went together a lot easier than the Kitty Hawk for one major reason, which is You have a main cockpit tub consisting of the floor, that nice detail there in the foot areas, side consoles, all integrated into a single cockpit tub, and then all you have is the rear bulkhead and these little pieces up here and this little riser piece that the rudders sit on. That's it. You don't have to deal with, all these different flat-sided walls coming together and hoping that they just work. Everything already works. You see these little posts here, 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 and here. Those actually plug up into the fuselage, so you don't have to worry about alignment or any of that business. It's just all ready to go. Now, the detail in this cockpit is phenomenal. I would say personally that I think it's better than the Kitty Hawk kits. Get in here for a direct comparison. The Kitty Hawk has a lot of nice things going on too, but I think overall the details are slightly chunkier than they are on this kit. There's also the matter of, if you look at it, the sidewalls and consoles seem to be sitting at different angles. The Great Wall is shallower, both in terms of depth of the cockpits. I mean, if you put these side by side, it's sitting well below. But these sit flat and then rise up kind of at a shallower angle, whereas these are angled already in there, and they kind of come up on the sides at a steeper angle. So which one is more accurate? I don't know, but given that Kitty Hawk has already screwed the pooch on the shape accuracy of the K-36, I'm inclined to be a bit suspicious of their efforts on that front. So that is this cockpit. Now let's take a look at the K-36. So this seat looks honestly more like a K-36 to me, though I feel like it's maybe a bit chunkier feeling than what Kitty Hawk has done. Especially down here in the front area. But it's hard to complain. I mean, the side details look really nice here. If you look up top, they've got all this detail packed into the top of the seat that you typically have to go with almost resin to get that sort of detail, whereas on the Kitty Hawk you get that. So considering that the headrest and top of the seat are sort of the focal areas of any ejection seat, which one would you rather go with? Now, these canisters on the side that were such a pain in the ass on the Kitty Hawk kit, on this are as painless as you can get, because basically connecting these two inside the seat here, you have just a single spar that mounts to the back part of the seat, and you don't have to worry about alignment or anything because they just fit. And then the headpiece drops on top, and then the front of the headrest just shoot right on there, and that's it. Now, another interesting thing about what Great Wall has done here is they don't fuck around with photo-etch seatbelts. They have actually provided you a plastic thing with sort of the back pad and the harness straps, and they go up and slot actually into the headrest where you can't see them. It's very elegant design. I do not think that this seat beats a good resin K-36 or even a modest resin K-36, but for a kit ejection seat, this is pretty solid. So that's that. Now it is time to get these things primed up in black and start some painting and start adding some details. So in the process of getting other parts ready for paint, I came across this guy, which is essentially where the HUD and all that sits for the Su-35 that Kitty Hawk has done. And if you look, we've got a couple things going on here, such as a nice sink mark. Yay. Up top, that is what represents the projector for the HUD. Uninspiring. We've got on either side here where the frames for the HUD mount, a bit of gnarliness that needs to be sanded up and cleaned up, and another sink mark on the other side there. That is a deep one too. And it looks like an ejector pin on top of the sink mark. Brilliant. Thankfully, the top is rather clean. If you look on the bottom here, though, you've got a nice, disgusting mold seam in there. Fortunately, that won't be all that
God damn it. Okay, what was lost is found. I have to say, another frustrating thing about this kit is this sort of cream gray color blends in really well with concrete floors. But, yeah, a bit rough. So let's clean that up and get on to priming this shit as soon as we can.